Sometimes I have a really hard time figuring out what to paint or draw. It's not that I don't have a bunch of ideas. I usually have a lot of ideas, but I tend to maybe overthink them a bit and give up on them sometimes in my own head. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's just a filter. But it can be quite hard to get going if you don't have that, inspiring spark to actually do any of the ideas you have. I've figured out that challenges is usually something that gets me going, or limiting myself to whatever it might be. A material, an idea. Limitations is usually something that makes me quite inspired. Hi Frank.
Or
What I did was I filled Frank's head with a bunch of ideas for portraits. Now I have like an analog skull portrait prompter. What every artist needs. I skipped the drawing part for this video. It was just a basic graphite drawing, essentially. I went on one of the big streaming services and I found Lord of the Rings. Just grabbed a bunch of screenshots of Ian McKellen as Gandalf. And then I went into Photoshop and just stitched them together. So it looks like crap. It's not a great reference picture. Like if I were to copy it one for one, this would not be a good painting. Which is also like a good thing, I feel. Then I can use the reference as just that, like a reference. And then I need to make the picture and the painting work separately from the reference. I couldn't really find a good shot of his staff in the movies. So I went on the old interwebs and I found this like replica store. They made replicas from all kinds of movies and they actually had a staff there, a photo of it. So I borrowed that photo and put it in his hand. I really wanted to have a detailed staff. What I want to avoid is having a painting that looks like I've just straight up drawn or painted a photograph. And I think you can also see that when it comes to the likeness. I feel like you can see that it's Ian McKellen in the painting. I mean, maybe not now really, but later on. But if you look at the reference photo, it's kind of far off from the actual reference photo. I started out with neutral grays and just trying to find the values. I did limit myself this time to only using 5 of the different values plus black and white. I always mix a lot of white, which is kind of funny, but I never use white. I use so little of it. Black, however, is that one runs out quickly. I have a tendency to always go towards the middle and not really push the contrast enough, and for this I really wanted to avoid that. So I tried to keep it fairly contrasty and really separate the shadows and the lights. And you can see like the painting it goes from looking like someone who absolutely don't know how to paint or draw to starting to look quite decent. Like they're starting to have some likeness, the forms are kind of emerging. And I think that is also something I've learned over the years, like not stressing over if it looks like crap in the beginning, because it will look like crap in the beginning, and just not worry about things being wrong or not the right value. It's just a matter of fixing it. So I never really stress out in the beginning. But it can feel, sometimes it can feel quite overwhelming when you have a lot of things to fix. In the first stage, all I want to do is I want to get paint on the canvas, I want to cover the canvas, and I want to find the placement of everything. But the details doesn't have to be there, and it doesn't have to be 100% correct. It just has to be like, yeah, okay, the placements are correct as I can get them. I think at this point we're actually getting quite detailed. I really love his staff in this movie with the pipe in it. This is the first time I realized that the pipe was in his staff. I didn't really think about that before, and I thought that was actually an awesome detail. I actually think lore-wise it is Radagast's staff, but I'm not, like, I don't know Lord of the Rings enough to explain why. But so please, if you have any Lord of the Rings fans, super fans, leave a comment on which staff it is, and if it is actually Radagast's staff, and how come Gandalf has it. I try to push the contrasts a bit, try to figure out the forms more and more, add some middle tone values, and just, slowly progressing towards really describing the sort of shapes and forms correctly. And then I do take like liberties here and there. That's the most fun part of the painting, when it's sort of, you're no longer stressing over having the likeness or like where everything is, but you're more concentrated on actually painting and trying to figure out what looks good as a painting, not just being a slave for the reference image, but rather changing it and sort of, no, it should be like this looks better as a painting. That's the part I enjoy the most. I feel like acrylics also is it's a lot of back and forth and a lot of layers. I tend to push things, and not always on purpose, but like accidentally I might push a value further than it should in some direction, either too dark or too bright, and then it's a matter of like finding the balance and trying to tone everything down and making it work. But essentially it's just layer upon layer upon layer upon layer, and a bit of back and forth, and then towards the end there's going to be really minimal changes to the values and more about softening edges and details. It's not always that I push the sort of the grayscale or the grisaille or underpainting as far as I did on this one, but I really wanted to get everything right, and actually I wanted it to feel like almost finished, as if I could like leave it where it was when I finished the grayscale painting, just so the color will just be the finishing touch, right? I keep that in mind and sort of try to find the point where I'm when adding more details and adding more to the grayscale painting, it's not gonna make it better. So when I find that, it's like, okay, now I'm gonna switch to color. I just wanted to avoid having to do big stuff and big changes in color. Not that you can't, like you absolutely can, but that's just how I like to do it. I enjoy that process because I can concentrate on one thing at a time. Now in the background image that I found, there were some birds in the sky, but I had this idea that I because he looks kind of troubled, I would say. He's looking at someone else and just, yeah, it's not a good day at the office, that's for sure. So instead of birds, I kind of want to put some Nazgul in the sky. So that's what I did, and I started with one, and oh man, Holy smokes. I think I repainted it 4 or 5 times, all in all, maybe 6. It was really hard to get it looking as I wanted it. Like I'm not sure what they are called, the creatures that the riders are riding, that the Nazgul are riding, but they have a really weird like shape to them and long neck. But yeah, it's really hard to get a good flow to it, you know, looking like something actually flying, but some weight to it, and yeah. And then I actually repainted it like 2 or 3 times again when I was doing the color part. And I added 2 smaller ones as well in the like behind it. But yeah, so once I finished the underpainting, I was really happy with it. Like, oh yeah. And I was kind of scared as well to start going into color. It's always weird. It's like that kill your darling kind of thing. When you're slightly happy with something, it's really hard to, you know, start messing with it. You don't really want to. But I knew that, no, this needs to be color. It's gonna look awesome. I also decided to paint the edges. It just looks crap to have that, like, that glued wood look to the edges. It was kind of distracting for me, so I just painted them black. Right, time for color. I think I started with just an earthy brown. It's really thinned down as well. And just, you know, make the skin look more skinny, fleshy, instead of just grey. And at this stage I can be very liberal with how I apply the colors. It's more looking at the reference and seeing, okay, where is it warm, where is it cool. Sort of the whole staff is really like just really brown. So yeah, we just got a slab of brown. And then I started to go into some blues and like trying to find where all the blue stuff was in the painting. And there was a lot of blue in his hair, I felt, or cool areas in the hair. Now this looks like he's some wizard raver. I knew that I was gonna paint over the hair a bunch of times anyway, so it's just about getting the general colors here and there. Yeah, again, and you can see like how helpful the underpainting is. Essentially I've just put down some thin layers of color and it still looks like the contrast is lower. So that's kind of what I'm fixing now, adding back the contrast. But the drawing is there, and it's just a matter of minor fixes to that, pushing the contrast and pushing the color now. So it can feel a bit like, oh, you're having to redo the whole painting. But this to me is the fun part. Like the drawing is there, so it's just a matter of finicky fixing stuff, and also creative freedom. Like here's where you can really have some creative freedom. Like if you see a color somewhere, you can really just push it. At some point here I add some reds to the sky as well. Yeah, Gandalf, Mithrandir. Is that like saying Barcelona? Yeah, I feel like that's like saying Barcelona. Mithrandir. Yeah, I don't know. It was too long since I spent a solid few hours on painting a portrait. Maybe you have someone that you think I should paint. It can be a character, a person, preferably someone that I know who it is and can sort of find the pictures of. Otherwise, I will have to make it up, which I guess that works as well. And yeah, you can write in the comments if I should add something to the to Frank here. Frank will show up again, I can promise you that. This is why I paint, and I'm not a speech writer. See you soon, somewhere, sometime in the future.